This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by 212 Degrees Construction Group, local and trusted remodeling. Hey everybody, you're listening to Area Code Batavia, a podcast about what it means to belong in Batavia, Illinois. Today on the show, a continuation of a series in which I'm interviewing the aldermen from each of Batavia's wards. I'm talking to Ward 4's Tony Malay and Dustin Pieper. Now, at this point, if you've been following the podcast, you've heard story after story about how welcoming Batavia is, how anyone can belong if they just take some initiative and get involved. I do think I've become convinced that Batavia is fundamentally a place of belonging and acceptance. Still, this kind of culture doesn't come by accident. It's true that people make up a community, but it's also true that certain kinds of communities attract certain types of people. And it's true that a community's culture shapes its people. So you have this circular thing happening, and I believe that circular pattern is shaped by structures and systems. The culture that we enjoy in Batavia are a direct result of the more formal acts of local government, staff, and public servants over time. In this episode, I spoke with two aldermen whose ward is particularly diverse and representative of the kind of thing I'm talking about. Ward 4 includes a bunch of Batavian staples: Aldi Corporate, Downtown River Street, Batavia Apartments, and the historical black neighborhood at North River Street. That's a lot of history, economic diversity, and fast-moving change all taking place in one location. So how do those empower, protect, and cultivate a sense of belonging in the midst of all of that? Well, it turns out it takes a combination of proactive policies, personal action, and relationship building. Here's my conversation with Tony Malay and Dustin Pieper.
I'm Tony Malay. I'm alderman for the 4th Ward.
My name's Dustin Pieper. I am also an alderman for the 4th Ward.
And how long have you both been aldermen at this point?
It's been about 9 years since I've been alderman. I was first appointed in 2017.
3 years for me. I was also first appointed. Seems to be a lot of that on council.
A lot of what?
Being appointed, actually. Starting out
right.
being
Yes.
appointed. But then we have to run for re-election at the next available election. So I have been duly elected since then somehow. And
people aren't always aware of that distinction where you don't always have to run for alderman.
Yeah.
Because people will, drop out midterm or something, and then they have to just choose someone? Is that how it works?
Yeah, the mayor has the authority, but the process he has used, he's let the council interview the prospective candidates and all have our say in basically a straw poll to determine.
We actually use ranked choice, which I'm always excited about.
Oh, ranked choice. Voting among the aldermen.
Among the aldermen for the appointed position, yeah.
Okay.
It works really well, I feel.
Yeah.
Nice. And you both were appointed in that way.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So will you have to run later on? You've been doing it for 9 years. So.
Yeah, so you have to run at the next election.
Okay.
And even if
you've run in one.
Yeah,
though.
So it's the
You've
so
run a
then the
couple
decision is, do you run for the 2-year unexpired term?
Yeah.
Or do you run for the 4-year?
Okay, yeah.
Which Dustin and I, just so happened, because he was appointed, we're both up for re-election, because all the other wards, it's staggered. It's odd years, but so this coming next May will be the half the council, and then 2 years after that will be the other half of the council in 2029.
Awesome. Dustin, have you run? Yeah.
Yes, I've run once.
Okay.
So like Tony was saying, would have normally run for the 2-year term.
Yes.
But
okay.
I think Tony wanted to only do 2 years more because he's been on council for quite a long time now.
Uh-huh.
So I said, I guess I'll do the 4-year. If I'm going to have to run, I might as well run, And that was a lot of fun. I actually had an opponent on that somewhat coincidentally. Like they weren't gunning for me. They were just somebody going for the seat.
Yeah, going for the 4-year term.
What was his name again? I can't remember.
Elderidge or Doug. Yeah.
Or was it Eldercamp? I think it was Doug Eldercamp because he's on the plan commission now.
Okay.
So there's always,
there's ways to get involved.
There's ways to get involved in the city. And that's kind of the exciting thing about the city is, a lot of the people on council we're not just like big businessmen or whatever. Like we have people from all walks of life on council.
Yes.
And it's very easy to get involved as an ordinary person. So we get all kinds of folks who can provide all sorts of unique experiences that I would hope are more identifiable to the common citizen in Batavia. It's not just a locked-in, like, insider club at all.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because both of you, though, do have backgrounds that lend themselves to these kind of roles. I mean, you were saying before we recorded, you work with teachers' unions and stuff like that.
Correct.
And Dustin, you have how would you describe your experience? You just have a lot of, I know that you have a lot of knowledge.
That's fair.
I'm trying to figure out, you have a lot of experience with like community development ideas and stuff.
So yeah, it's kind of funny. I wouldn't necessarily say that I have like a typical background for being a political figure.
Yeah.
I very much have engineering personality disorder, which not always a public official kind of thing.
That's not in the DSM, I don't think.
They're no fun anymore anyway. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is under a different name, which I'm not going to say. It is unusual, but I also just find cities fascinating, and always have, even as like a child. Like I grew up playing SimCity. I was always thinking about like how societies work and how people work in societies. I always found that just very interesting, how to organize a town. I just read this stuff in my free time. It's like a fixation or something. It's disturbing.
Yeah.
I'm very worried.
It's like
I've
primary
fully lived
passion
it
outside
out.
of work. Yeah.
It is, yeah. And
so in some ways, you are a representative of like anyone can do this, because you don't have like it's on your resume. It's not there.
Absolutely not.
But because you have a passion and an interest and a lot of knowledge, I think, about these things, then you're a good candidate. Because what both of you have in your backgrounds is like hard skills, I think. Hard knowledge, hard skills. Could you come in with more of like a cultural bent or like a relational bent, with not a lot of awareness of like how the law works or how municipalities work or things like that, and still do this job based on like a vision of what you think should happen or something?
Certainly, I think, especially a council this size with 14 council people or alder people from many different walks of life, as we said, I think our skills range broadly.
Yeah.
And, and I think having someone that maybe has soft skills more so than specific knowledge on the operations of government can be a great contributor and a balancer. And that's, that's what, I really enjoy being on a council with 14 people. If it were 7, like many towns have, one per alderman or one per ward, I don't think it would be as fruitful of discussions, so to say.
That's really interesting you say that. I don't know if this was I feel like I've had a couple of interviews with other aldermen who have said that they think it needs to be less.
Really?
Because it's so hard to find people to fill those slots in particular. Agree with both sides of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with you that like, man, it would be a real bummer if it was sort of like so limited that these roles ended up going to a lot of the same types of people.
I agree with that. Every time we have an open position, which usually happens if someone moves out of the ward or personal reasons, life circumstances, it happens. We have a fair amount of people that step up and put their resume in and as candidates. And it's a great opportunity then to fill other roles within the city. So we talked about Doug didn't win the election, but now he's on the zoning committee or planning committee.
Yeah. So you've both run against people?
Yeah.
I have. My first election where I was contested. After being appointed,
and
I decided to run for the 4-year term instead of the 2-year unexpired term. Was a young guy that just wanted to get involved.
So neither of you were sort of run against.
There was never a targeted campaign.
Does it seem like that happens here?
I don't think it's so much, that's so much.
With aldermen?
I'm sure it's happened that there's been someone that's not been satisfied with what their alderman's doing and decided, well, I'm going to run against you.
Yeah.
That's not a common occurrence.
Not a common thing. And if the vibe I get, even with the mayoral election, it was a little bit like this, where if that is the case, no one says it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
And I would add that this is nonpartisan.
Yes. Yes.
When you get to the county level, you have to, it is partisan.
Yeah.
There's not like a systemic, like someone has to challenge this person because they don't agree with my partisan beliefs thing.
There's
not often. Yeah. And I mean, I think each ward has its own culture to it. like somewhat coincidentally, it's not like, specific groups were picked when the wards are. It's purely geographic, but like,
and
each
they're
ward's
the ones who are
different.
voting on their aldermen.
On their aldermen,
and so
yeah.
who they vote for.
We don't have any at-large seats, which I know some places do.
Yes.
Where
Which
it's-
means
Aurora
empty seats.
has.
which means the entire city votes for that person.
Oh, I didn't know that was a
Yeah.
thing somewhere.
They
Yeah.
don't represent just one ward. They're citywide.
Okay.
Sometimes
Aurora has it.
Sometimes I guess they act sort of like the vice president and they make the tie-breaking vote, I think. Or it'd be something like that where they have a
It's
special
sounding an awful
role.
lot like mayor to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The mayor is
With-
still
yeah.
being the mayor. It's I would say more like
You
Speaker
don't
of the House.
have the executive functions of the mayor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess for a bigger city, you.
But I mean, it really just depends on the city, too. I haven't looked at other cities because I got my hands full here.
Yeah, makes sense. When was the first time each of you felt like you belonged in Batavia?
I started teaching in Batavia in '98 at the middle school. That's when it was still Batavia Middle School before it became Rotolo. I was teaching there, and on the weekend, we lived in West Chicago at the time. My wife and I decided to take a bike ride with the kids and thought we'd ride on the river. And it was early May, and we stumbled across the Loyalty Day Parade, which we had no idea about. And it was, at that time, it used to be quite a parade.
Yeah.
That would happen, and the middle school and high school bands were out.
And what is the Loyalty Day Parade?
Good question. There is something called loyalty, but not getting too far into that. There were efforts to revive that. The VFW did. It really was created as an answer to May Day, which is
Okay.
May 1st, which is celebrated as Labor Day around the world, except here in America, and specifically here in Chicago, where it started.
Okay.
And in 1886.
There's
the Haymarket
a
Ride,
lot
all that,
of
without getting into
historical,
details.
political reasons for all of that.
Very much so.
But you're really focusing on the
I-
parade side of it.
But the
I'm sorry,
parade,
can I just ask for like a jitter? I'm like, this feels interesting enough for me to get. Can I just get an overview of like what?
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
what is Loyalty Day supposed to celebrate?
Loyalty. So
To whom?
this is what I think it was started in the 1950s, right?
Yeah, it was in the
so
50s.
so like historically you had May Day in May, and that was kind of the international. It is still the International Labor Day. America in the Cold War had very conflicted relationship, I think, with labor movements in the broader
Okay.
world context,
Yep.
because they would often be associated with like Russian Bolshevik communism sometimes. So like in America in the 50s at the time thought, well, we need to create our own day that's not associated with that, to try to like shift that way. And it came with Loyalty Day for
Okay.
like loyalty to America and the community and everything. And it was one of those things that was never a huge holiday. Like cities
Yeah,
picked it up,
didn't
and
take off.
Batavia
Yeah, it was not
one.
really
Yeah.
widely recognized in a lot of communities, or
The president, and this goes back multiple administrations, always puts out one every year.
Yeah.
Like the previous president did, the current does, So there's a common thread, but it is kind of one of those like lesser known holidays. I only learned about it a couple years
Yeah.
ago, and
Yeah.
now I tell people that like, hey, it's Loyalty Day.
Loyalty Day.
And everybody gives me like a little eye, like, what?
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
felt
to
the
go a
same
little
way. I was
deeper in it,
very
though,
interested.
before that, in 1886, there was 80,000 workers marched on Michigan Avenue to demand an 8-hour workday, which was actually the law at the time, but just wasn't being enforced.
Yeah.
And the capitalists didn't like that.
Okay.
And a few days later is when the Haymarket riot happened.
Okay.
Haymarket affair, I
Right,
should say,
right.
not riot, where there was officers, there was claims that a bomb was set off by these anarchists, and there was huge pressure to quash that, and there was a total kangaroo court. There were 7 people round up that weren't even present at the rally at the time. Some were hung. There's a memorial in Oak Forest at the cemetery.
Yeah.
That all started in Chicago,
Yeah.
and that went around the world, and that made May 1st Labor Day everywhere in this world, except
Okay.
for in America. And the unions were pushing that, why don't we have it? There was efforts to diffuse that, to say, well, we'll do it in September is when Labor Day will be here.
Right.
And still there were efforts to push it. Well, let's do Loyalty Day Parade to kind of commemorate that time of year. But it's there's deep history on it.
Yeah.
But
It's-
that did
it's the
derail your
hot-
story
yeah.
a bit because like
It's a great value brand.
So from your perspective, you're just walking around, you're stumbling onto a community parade, essentially.
Very much. Yeah. And even at the time, I didn't know what Loyalty Day was at
Yeah,
that time.
yeah.
It wasn't until later on. And then I continued teaching, where I was an elected president of the Teachers Association 5 times. So I did have some experience being elected. an elected position. After being involved with the union, learned a lot more of the labor history. Very rich in the Chicagoland area.
It is interesting how these sort of community events can just have so much history and meaning.
Batavia just has random parades. This is magical.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we, though? We don't have many parades here.
That's true.
We don't have any parades.
That's
here.
true.
No.
What happened?
So there was efforts to bring it back just a couple of years ago. The council said it was the VFW that was doing it, and we suggested, why don't you do it 4th of July? It'll be more efficient that way. We already have police and security and
for the fireworks
in place, and we can just expand on that some. And otherwise, it is quite cost prohibitive to run a parade. It's
as we've learned from Geneva
expense.
recently.
Oh,
yes,
no.
exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, but what about that experience made you feel belonging?
We showed up in town here with our family, and it was an opportunity, a festive place. I knew a lot of people because I had been teaching here.
Okay, yeah.
I knew a lot of the middle school students, and we felt welcomed. That made all the difference. And the fact that I was teaching here, and we wanted our kids to go to Batavia schools. We moved here just when our son started kindergarten. Our third daughter graduates in two weeks out in California.
Amazing.
So the schools have been an anchor for me to Batavia and being part of this community.
This episode of Area Code Batavia is brought to you by 212 Degrees Construction Group. Maybe you live in an older home here in Batavia, one of those houses with good bones and great local history. But you also know the reality of living with shortcuts taken by previous owners. There's that feeling you have of they did the upgrade, but they definitely cut corners. Of course, we'd like to make some upgrades of our own in our house. We have this vision of turning our back porch into a sunroom, a place where I can sit at my desk surrounded by trees and the sounds of nature and actually get some kind of work done in the sunlight. But we've hesitated. We're not big fans of those high-pressure contractors who want you to sign right now for a today-only discount. And it always leaves us wondering, are these people actually invested in my home, or do they just want to check? That's why I'm glad that 212 Degrees Construction is right here in town. They're a Batavia-based business, and most importantly, they're not interested in patchwork solutions. Their primary concern is a job well done. When you talk to the people at 212 Degrees Construction Group, there's no pressure, and they handle the permits and the headaches so that you don't have to. They're the people you call when you're tired of thinking about doing something someday and you're ready to get things done right. If you're ready to turn your dream home upgrade into a reality, or just fix that one room that's been driving you crazy, go to 212dcg.com or click the link in the show notes.
What about you, Dustin, in Batavia?
I mean, it definitely took a few hours, but yeah.
From when you moved in?
From when I moved in,
Okay.
yeah. Honestly, though, so Batavia is a very strange place in a very good way compared to most places. To give some context, I'm a bit of a world traveler. I've lived all over the central time zone. Mm-hmm. Grew up in rural America, out in the countryside, neighbors on 3-acre lots. We talked to each other. It was fine. Lived in the suburban South for a while. I used to live in Huntsville, Alabama earlier in my adult career here. I moved into my house there, and I hadn't met my neighbors for about 6 months after that. It took it to be Halloween is when people started coming out, and I said hi. I'm just like, oh, wow. I was expecting something, like a gift basket. I don't know.
Welcome.
Not even that. Yeah, just somebody to come by, say hi. Nothing. I moved here. That was April 23rd, 2022. Batavia has a lot of recent folks who I think have been very much part of the community very quickly. You're one of them,
yes.
I know,
yeah.
Which is part of the magic of the town. Because I was going to say, within hours, I was meeting my neighbors here. They were coming out of the woodwork to meet me. People waving, smiling,
That's cool.
Were
these mostly young families, older folks? What was the...
Mostly older.
Okay, yeah.
Older, younger, just everyone. I've actually seen my neighbors here. A lot of times people don't realize... People who have lived here most of their lives don't realize that we're kind of an unusual place here.
Yes, yeah.
We're a very strong community in that regard because it's people move here and they are lifelong Batavians by the end of the week. You know, sometimes.
You mean they feel that way and they're treated that way?
Both, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a cult. It's great. It's like we're getting love bombed, I guess, by the community when people move here. I worry people get nervous about folks moving into town, like, oh, it's going to change things. But it's like, no, this town's culture is so ridiculously strong. Anyone who comes here is changed overnight. It's terrifying. It's like a hive mind. It's like that Pluribus show that came out. It's spooky.
I want to be thoughtful about just maybe pushing back a little bit on
Sure.
that.
Oh, 100%.
Because for me, it did take me a long time to feel that.
Yeah.
It did not happen for me overnight. And there's all sorts of reasons you can talk about around that. But I think it took about 2 to 4 years until we started talking to our neighbors. I mean, we talked to our neighbors, but like until we felt like we had a relationship with them, or until I felt like really any investment in the community.
Yeah.
I say that to say a lot of that is me. And I do think, I'm curious, like for you, like you clearly have a mindset that is proactive about those things, right?
I guess so. I mean, I am definitely an awkward nerd.
Okay.
I am a bit of a homebody.
Oh, yeah.
Admittedly, like,
I'm
I
just
don't know.
curious if
It could have
there's
been some
something
luck.
you did that might have caused that to happen. Because if not, there's something I did that caused that not to happen. Or maybe it's just the area or the situation.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if it's the area, because you live like right down the street from me.
Yeah, it would be weird.
Like within like a quarter mile, I think.
I think back then we had a bit more of an older demographic.
Maybe
there.
that's true.
So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
I did move in more recently. When did you move in again?
It was 2018.
So you can't quite blame COVID.
No.
Because that would have factored in.
No.
Maybe
But
that's
then,
true.
yeah,
I can't.
COVID has played a role in that. So our experiences moved in. Our neighborhood was kind of the second round of homeowners were kind of moving in with kids, and the previous homeowners, their kids had grown, and there was a lot of houses in the neighborhood that turned over. But some of the people that had been there, within the first couple of months, I believe there was a block party that happened.
Wow.
And everyone got together and we're like, oh, this neighborhood's great.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
Our kids, had a ton of friends right in the neighborhood, and every night in the summer they're always hanging out. And,
That's our neighborhood now.
Yeah.
I have a theory. My theory is that COVID actually helped. It made us recognize what we didn't have. And then we all were a lot more intentional about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The wrench that COVID did put into it, it upset the cycle of a family moves into a house, lives there, raises kids, sells the house and downsizes, and another family comes in.
Yeah.
Because the real estate exchange was just not happening for a long time.
Yes, good point.
But I think that's come back now,
A little bit.
The house, a little bit. Houses go on the market, and there's someone immediately there to...
We definitely are blessed with really good schools here. I say blessed, I mean, there's a lot of people who put a lot of hard work to do that as well.
Yes,
We're blessed to have a lot of good
absolutely.
people here, too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all the way down.
I feel like you've already talked a little bit of some of the reasoning behind, like some of the reasons behind getting involved in city council. Can you talk about like the moment where you said, I'm going to do this? And Dustin, I'm going to start by guessing at yours. Did you come here deciding, like thinking, I'm going to try and run for city council?
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
So like when I moved here, the week I moved here, I didn't have any furniture.
Yeah.
Because the moving company was still driving on up, I guess. So I had nothing to do. So I came to a city council meeting because I was already interested in city stuff. And the fact that I could walk here made all the difference in the world.
Okay.
I'd never been to any government meeting in my life before this. Like I just went. I was just like, I'm going to see what this is like.
Yeah.
I just sat out in the audience in these like very nice, comfortable chairs. I recommend it to everybody. They're not just like rigid, unpleasant chairs or anything. If you saw the chairs right now, it's
Extremely comfortable chairs.
yeah.
They're not as comfortable as the council members' chairs.
Yeah, that's true. They're good chairs. They're not the big like theater chairs they have now.
Right. They're not Imagine.
Yeah, the Imagine like
reclining.
like the love seats. Yeah, you're not going to do any of that at city council. We could probably get more people if we had that coming out. But yeah, I came out here, sat in the seat. Kind of in the back because I'm a nervous fellow in that way. I'm not going to sit in front and stare at folks. I think I unnerved some of the members of the council. I was like, who's this guy? Where did he come from? Because I got comments later on of like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like people just like some members of council just walked up and said, who's this guy? And I'm just like, oh, I just moved here. I'm excited to be a part of the town. Little did they know. Like about a year
You're gonna be
later,
running things.
here I am. Yeah. But no, I mean, I actually had a member of council after that, a few months after that, come up to me and say, yeah, you're interested in this stuff. You should run. So like I had some encouragement.
Yeah.
I was a lot less outgoing back then. I've definitely come out of my shell a lot more in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Kind of have to. I mean, I'm up on stage near all the time now.
Yes. I'm a big fan of doing things to force yourself to grow in certain areas, especially relationally.
Oh, 100%. And that's been my Batavia experience. By and large, it's how it really helped me to do that. It's been my growth journey. Kind of knew I wanted to do it, and then the opening opened up because I couldn't run immediately for the seat because I hadn't been here a full year yet. So I'm like, oh well, what was his name? The other alderman for Ward 4 before me.
Joe
No.
Knopp. No, before
he just
Tom.
ran for mayor.
Tom
Conley.
Conley.
Oh my gosh.
Before that was Joe.
Yeah, he had stepped down because he was moving to the other side of town. I think his family was growing and they just wanted a new house, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, this is kind of my opportunity. I guess I'll take it.
Yeah.
I was very nervous about it. I had no idea. I had some idea what I wanted to do and work on, but it was just this is probably the most nerve-wracking thing I've put myself forward for before.
Interesting.
And,
yeah. I love that was a lot, not just a possibility for you, but something you were encouraged to do.
Yeah.
I think that's a side effect of having so many slots. And one of the things that I think might deter people is just this feeling that I had of I'm just an outsider. What do I know? But I think that's really important. And I think that's something Batavia is really good at being open to, is having outsiders influence the town.
I was worried about that a lot because I know some members of council they're first generation Batavians, I guess. Their families have been here
and
for
they brag
millennia.
about it.
Yeah,
they brag about it.
And not in a mean way. They're they're proud of the fact. They're not just saying, well, my people were here, these Johnny come lately. It's no, it's because again, people have so much pride in our town to be able to say, yes, we've been part of this town forever, not as a show of some elitism, but as just excited to be part of the town, you know? And again, this town has more history in one block than in most other towns have over their entire footprint, It's wild. So I was worried about that. People are going to be who's this carpetbagger coming up here from the south, Huntsville, thinks he's going to run the place.
Yeah. Tony, do you remember the moment you decided?
So back in 2017, Paula Mueller was an alderperson that she moved out of town, and so I had to step down from council. So there was an open seat.
So
I was not aware
for context,
of it.
People should know Paula Mueller owned Paula's.
Yes, exactly.
We had her on the podcast. She talked about her experience with being a council member.
Yeah.
So you replaced her, essentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
That was not on my radar. I wasn't looking at it. To be honest, I wasn't regularly following city council, and having been president of the Batavia teachers for 9 years, stopped teaching after 2014. Several people reached out to me and said, hey, there's an open position for the fourth ward.
Several people.
Yes, some former teachers, and I'm drawing blanks on names.
Okay, yeah. But
so then I started talking to some other people. Lucy Atek, that was on the council, then I reached out to her.
Why do you think those people reached out to you?
Well, I think I had a pretty good run as president of the Batavia teachers, and we were built a strong organizing group of teachers. We got some good contracts. As a new administration, we became involved in the board elections. I felt it was a vote of confidence that I heard from some people that told me, we think you'd be good at that. And so
maybe it's both, but I'm curious. Do you think it was more they saw the skill you had in that role, or was it more they wanted someone who was attuned to education and teacher concerns and stuff like that?
No, I think it's more about the skills, because it's there's not a whole lot of overlap. We really don't have say on what happens in the schools from city council, and likewise council doesn't. We cooperate on things, and I'm always want to encourage that, and very much in favor of that. Both of all the governing bodies in Batavia, the park district, the library, it makes sense that we cooperate because we have the same constituents for the most part. They're goofy lines, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And gained some experience in a leadership role, leading the Teachers Association, and it was appreciated.
That's cool.
A lot of the members.
So you heard people reach out, and you thought, was there any hesitancy on your part?
When I started talking to some of the current council members, it was all right. At that time, they were meeting basically every other Monday, the first and third Monday, but then every Tuesday was the committee of the whole. So you had a meeting every week. Every other week you had 2 meetings.
Yeah, okay.
Which was an improvement from before when they had all the different committee meetings.
Yeah.
And then you were attending a couple different committee meetings and the council meeting. One thing I heard loud and clear is there is a ton of reading. You may sit in a meeting here for 3 hours, or we've had 4-hour meetings, these marathon meetings that have happened. People might think, wow, that's a big time commitment. That's only a fraction of it, because to be able to sit here and know what you're talking about, you got to do your reading, and and it's staying on top of a lot of things is important. And it takes a lot of time. So
you were sort of counting that cost up front.
So I was kind of aware that this was going to be. I was saying earlier, my position working with teachers, I have a different schedule, which does make this a challenging position, because I work in the evenings a lot. After teachers and support staff are done with their work days, when typically we have association meet and other things. So it's been 10 years, coming up on 10 years. As we were saying, the last election, Dustin was up for the 2-year unexpired term because he was appointed, and I had the 4-year term that I would be running for. That's why I sat on this side of the table. So I asked Dustin, I've been doing this 8 years. What if I run for the 4 or the 2 and you run for the 4, and then that'll make it 10 years, and I'll decide if I want to continue then. Yeah. Graciously agreed to it, and then we found out he had an opponent and I didn't, and I felt guilty about that.
I stinged the bullet a little. Yeah. But at the same time, we're with that, I was happy it was a contested election, just because as a voter, hate uncontested elections.
Totally.
Where it's just why am I even showing up? This isn't fair.
Yes.
I thought it was good to have somebody step up, and they weren't necessarily gunning for me, which made things a little nicer. It was just somebody that wanted to run, and it meant that it gives me more of a feedback report card of how I'm doing through the election, which is how it's supposed to go. It was good. It was nerve-wracking. Yeah. It was miserable in some ways, because I'm an engineer. It's hard to put myself out there for that kind of thing sometimes. I try my best, of course, but that was definitely a lot. But at the same time, it was an actual democratic process. I was excited about that. Right. We had debates. We had, thanks to the League of Women Voters.
Yes, they do a fantastic job.
We interview them as well, and they're great. Yeah, so cool.
I think we're the last people you've interviewed in town at this point.
Yeah, you would think so, but I really thought I would run out of people at this point. But I still got. We're halfway there. At least.
How many towns have a podcast? That's my question.
I think a lot do, but how many towns have a great podcast?
Exactly. There you go. Right. That was implied in the question.
Right.
But no. So somebody to talk to.
So Dustin, you alluded to earlier, every ward has a character.
Uh-oh.
I would love to hear from both of you what you think the character of Ward 4 is.
Oh, I thought you meant a specific person. I was like, oh, geez, who am I going to call out? Ward the mascot. That would be awkward.
That would be Dustin on his bike and his leather jacket, I think.
Maybe. What I really want to do with that bike, it's hard to bike in winter because I have zero cold tolerance. That's why I moved to Chicago. Yeah. I want to find a astronaut spacesuit or something to wear to keep myself warm when I'm biking. Yeah. And I think that would really push me over the edge.
Thing to do.
It's a very sensible thing to do, yeah. This place is more inhospitable than the moon during wintertime for me. So, no, it's not that bad. But so character, but you mean character of the ward.
Yeah, what's the vibe?
I would say that the 4th ward is the most diverse ward.
Yeah. 100%.
In fact, the oldest African-American community in Kane County is in the 4th ward.
Right.
Yeah. We live on Osier Street. It's just John Osier, who lived to be 100, was a freed slave and owned property in this area. A lot of property in this area. And his grave is actually just a block and a half from our house at the East Side Cemetery.
Is Logan Street Baptist Church also in Ward 4?
Oh, yes.
Correct. Okay. Very much so.
It's a very vibrant community there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They have really good potlucks.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Give that a recommend. Yeah. And I would say, me being, I generally consider myself an urbanist, as they're called nowadays. 4th Ward has probably the most diversified housing stock in town. Maybe 3rd Ward, they're kind of similar too. It comes with just the age of the area. We're definitely one of the oldest parts of town, that and downtown and a little bit of the west side. But we have not just single-family homes. We have a lot of duplexes and multiplexes. You wouldn't even know we're there if you weren't paying attention, honestly. Both condominium rental units, owned condominium units, apartment buildings, smaller apartments. We have a few of those. So there's a lot of opportunity for people of all walks of life. And like Tony was saying, it's diversified across all sorts of metrics, like
Yeah.
not just culturally and racially, but like economically.
Yes,
we
very
have
much.
a lot of fairly well-to-do people. We have a lot of people who are just coming into town, coming into their own. So like you get a bit of everyone, and I think that is part of the beauty of Fourth Ward. It's an older neighborhood that has grown and changed over time, and it has the sort of granularity that you'd kind of expect from that. Of like it just has a bit of everyone, and it makes for an interesting place to live.
Yeah, say more about what kind of interesting place. So like we know there are a diversity of people. What does that result in, like in the everyday, in the concrete sort of conversations that people are having, or the expectations they have, or as we talked about, like who they're going to vote for? Like what are the concerns of Ward 4 people?
Well, always in when it comes to elections, our economic issues. That's always drives the way people are going to vote.
Yeah.
Housing affordability is an
Yes.
issue lately.
Uh-huh.
We do
Yes,
a little
very
better
much.
in the Fourth
Yeah,
Ward
yeah.
because, like I said, there's more options, but it's still hard.
Yeah, Fourth Ward is not the only ward, but it has some lower cost housing. I would say you'll find more starter homes or more young families can focus on trying to get into the Fourth Ward.
Right.
We get reports of block parties that are going to happen every. The deputy, one of the deputy chiefs, puts out a weekend events that are happening. So we get an email for that, and it seems like there's more block parties in the Fourth Ward.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
than other wards.
It's the party ward.
It's the
Yeah,
a little
and
bit,
we have River Street.
but like a family
Yeah.
party.
Oh,
you know?
right. You
Yeah.
have so River
We have
Street
River
is in
Street.
Fourth Ward.
Yeah.
All the way up to Main Street.
All the way everything north of Wilson.
Okay.
Not quite though. It's the railroad tracks.
Well, I meant for River Street.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Actually,
That's
it's
a
really
River
funny.
Street. It's a weird line. It's not exactly Wilson.
And it's not exactly Wilson. There's little bits of, I think, Ward 6 or Ward 2
I think so.
that sneaks up into what I would consider Ward 4. I actually had a neighbor of mine down the street from me when the election happened, like message me saying, "Hey, how come you're not on my ballot?" And I'm like, "I don't know why not." And I looked it up, and I'm like, "Oh, you're in Ward 6 somehow."
Wow,
Even though you're
interesting.
on my street, like what
Yeah.
the heck?
That's great.
What kind of
'Cause
gerrymandering, rigged nonsense? No, I'm kidding.
Because it's Wilson until it gets to the railroad, and then the railroad's a divider.
Gotcha.
Until it gets out to a certain point, and then it comes back.
Who knows?
Because the Batavia Apartments are then in Fourth Ward.
Yeah, that's true. And that is another aspect. We have Batavia Apartments, which, there's a lot of folks working really hard there to provide very affordable housing for folks, provide opportunities. I was in Chicago just this past winter.
Yeah.
I went to I think it's the American Literature Museum
Okay.
down there. It might be not its exact title. There was a display on an author from Batavia Apartments, who grew up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In downtown Chicago at this big museum.
Yeah.
Batavia made a contribution, and it's somebody out of Batavia Apartments who her family had immigrated to this country, and she was able to become an accomplished author talking about her experiences. I thought that was beautiful. I was really excited to hear that.
absolutely.
I mean, there's also a lot of challenges. We have, again, the oldest housing stock, and that can be difficult for a lot of people because keeping it up to date, refurbished, can be very expensive or just very tricky. We have that green program for housing for home energy audits, where the city uses
From
the bag fee funds to help.
Fees.
Yeah,
Not a tax.
That's the thing. That's the thing. But we are able to use those funds with a matching grant now from not matching, but with an additional grant money from Kane County to provide energy audits to people for their homes to figure out where all the leaks are for air and where there might be losing energy on their homes, and also provide a small grant to improve their homes. So I think, especially in Batavia, which is such an older town in the area, that I think is, I hope, doing a lot of good work for folks to refurbish their homes up to a newer standard.
Right.
So that's one thing I think has been good, especially for Ward 4. I don't recall, I haven't seen the map of who all got selected last year, so I can't say that for certain.
Yeah.
I can only imagine that, especially in our older parts of town, which are generally preferenced for these audits when they're being selected from the candidates list of everyone who has applied. I like to hope that helps.
There's an interesting tension, though, I think that's it feels like is coming to the forefront a bit around, you talked about people vote on economics and especially affordability of housing, and you have Batavia Apartments. That's in tension with some people's concerns around safety.
Yes,
right?
That's fair.
So do you feel like there's a tension there with your people you represent, that they are of two minds about that?
So that does,
I guess, sorry, to clarify for people, some people would argue that like Batavia Apartments are creating unsafe circumstances for like the people around,
who are there,
or the people who are there, just by offering low income housing, which I don't agree, just for the record, just full disclosure. But
I can speak to this point a bit.
Yeah, please.
I would say I think it's a very real concern, and it kind of boils from how public housing or affordable housing was considered back in like the 70s versus now.
Yeah.
Because back then you had these sort of project apartment style developments, like what a Batavia Apartments is.
Yeah.
Those can cause issues because you're concentrating things so that when you
lots
have
of people concentrated in a very small area.
Yeah, lots of people, not just people, but people of limited means concentrated in one area, so that you have just the interactions that generate from that, I think, can cause sort of that concern about safety. Sure. And again, for the people there as well, which only kind of exacerbates the problem. I think newer looks at how we achieve affordable housing, it's meant to be more distributed in the community so you don't get those like pain points. Okay. It's just you have like a duplex next to a single family home, and from the outside you wouldn't know the difference. You'd be looking for like, oh, there's two mailboxes. Aha. Like what's the difference? Yeah. And in that case, like you wouldn't know necessarily that the person living next to you is of a different income bracket than you. Like unless you're like really weird about it and like, checking the tax records or something, like you don't have that same pain point anymore. And I think that is a much more effective and I would say dignified way of helping people find affordable housing in those means. And there's programs also to help out, like housing vouchers. That's above Batavia's pay grade, of course. But it's preventing the concentration of impoverishment, and in doing so, creating more of a stronger community fabric that helps prevent a lot of the issues that folks might have with crime or safety. And also, another aspect of it, Batavia Apartments is located very much on the edge of town. Yeah. Which some people might say, oh, good, it's over there somewhere. But it's like you're also taking people who are very vulnerable and moving them away from amenities, from the things that you need to live, like grocery stores, or even just restaurants. Like everybody should be able to go out to eat every once in a while at the very least, right? It's just human dignity stuff again. You're moving them away from the community, so then you harm that community spirit. That was something, that was way in the past. It was half a century ago now, of how people were trying to address these problems back then. To, I think, the best of their ability. I'm not going to assume anything back then. I wasn't even alive yet. That is one of those concerns. It's not simply an affordable housing thing. I think it's a historical thing. And like I said, the folks at Batavia Apartments, I talked to the folks that run that, a lot of them on a volunteer basis even, they work very hard to try to foster a sense of community. And there's a lot of that there. Yeah. Every year I like to go to the trunk or treat that they host. Yeah. And it is a wonderful time. Kids out in costumes, excited, and the community comes out for folks. Like we have businesses all showing up with decorated trunks. The police department's there handing out candy, and I think I will commend our police department here for like doing a lot of outreach at Batavia Apartments, trying to help make sure people feel safe there, and working with people who might be in difficult circumstances. Like they're there. I'm going to say they're there all day, every day, and people are going to look at that like, aha. But like, no, they are choosing to go there just to help, be a presence rather than necessarily responding to anything, It's one of those things of trying to build that sort of community policing model of having our police be a part of the community and protecting the community, and not just like some places I think there might be a feeling of antagonism where it shouldn't be. We're here, they're part of the community and are helping out there. So there's aspects of that as well. And you do have unfortunates, and we've had two spring up over the last year and a half or so. Yeah. And that's hard on everybody. That's hard on the folks there. Sometimes that's just a matter of statistics, like lightning sometimes strikes the same place twice. Yeah. There's obviously more to it than that. There's also a lot of good work being done by wonderful people to provide opportunities for these folks. And like I said, we've had a lot of great people who have got their start in Batavia Apartments and have gone on to do wonderful things in our community and, in our nation. I think it's good to focus on the good as well in that sense.
Right.
Correct.
Anything else?
Yeah, I agree with Dustin was saying about the some of the affordable housing or is outside of town. That reminds me, when I first got on council, I walked into a hot issue at the time was the Campana building. There was plans to put affordable housing in there.
Yeah.
And boy, that was divisive. We had a lot of people from Geneva coming to combat that because that little, it was Batavia that said we'll bring power there when they first built that, and so that is the only thing on the other side of Fabian that's
in Geneva.
In Geneva, or that's in Batavia.
Is that Ward 4?
Yeah.
No.
No. That would be Ward 6. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's Ward 3.
Yes.
Some other
I'm
ward.
sorry.
Yeah,
It's
that's
3.
Ward
Yeah.
3.
Because that was right across from the homestead. And remember, it was a very close vote on that, and Mike O'Brien was on the council still, and he was very supportive of affordable housing, and we needed that. But he voted against it because he said, Tony, and we had long discussion on this. He said, I support affordable housing, but it shouldn't be on the edge of town. It should be right downtown. It should be where people have access. Don't isolate those people that need to be in those.
So in that respect,
things.
the old Corey apartments are looking pretty good.
Very much
I'm very
so.
excited about that.
I would say that, and while there is affordable in there, there's also workforce. It is a mix, which I think is good. To Dustin's point, where it's not all low income. It's a mix of that, and
I think some of the units.
I've had the question before was about people in the Fourth Ward concerns about safety, and I did hear from some constituents about River Street, and we shouldn't be doing this and spending tax dollars to support that. Well, we're not. It's TIF support, which is actually a smaller amount that we thought we would have to in the beginning, but
To support what?
to support the project of 72 units on,
I see.
on River
The
Street.
apartment there,
Yeah.
which, to be clear, that's a nonprofit run development.
In conversations, I'm like, this is for, I'm negotiating contracts for teachers and support staffs in school. Those are the people that would qualify for this. Teachers just getting started, young professionals.
100 million percent.
That's why the council voted unanimously to support this project, because it's it answers a great need that we see, and that's providing affordable housing, not just on the very low end, but for people getting started out. I hear often from more mature Batavians that say their kids would love to move back to town, but they just can't afford it.
Can't afford it.
And this project helps with that a little bit, but there needs, we need to continue doing more for that. And,
Like on a lot of the units, I think the income cap is $67,000.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a good chunk of change there.
And then
for a
there's
lot of
things
folks.
just anecdotally, like next door to my house, there was a house on sale for a little while, and then someone came in and just added a second story and made it cost double the amount. And that's what it takes to move into that house now. And it really drove home for me how that is happening all around Batavia.
Yeah.
In addition to this giant lot of houses out here near, what do we say?
Winding Creek
or whatever, near the Dairy Queen.
Near the Ashton Ridge.
Ashton Ridge.
We're still not sure what ridge they're referring to.
Yeah.
It's always great to have more homes, but this is a very specific group of people who's going to be able to afford those homes.
And I was actually opposed to that because, as you're seeing now, those houses are right on top of each other.
Yeah, they are. Yes. And the thing is, I feel like we're coming full circle, because what you just said about this new quarry development is really interesting. You've got different ranges of people, different economic classes of people, and that, it feels to me like, as exhibited in the Fourth Ward, and frankly throughout Batavia, in my ward as well, that feels like the secret to me of what makes Batavia kind of unique, which is this: you can walk next door and introduce yourself to someone way better off than you, way different age than you, in a different life situation than you, or vice versa, right? I find that to be really enriching. Encourages me to get involved more, I think, in the neighborhood.
I would definitely agree with that, and I think the Fourth Ward is that's illustrates a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing about Fourth Ward before we wrap it up is I think we all kind of forget about it a little bit, but also it's kind of the industrial heart of our town because
Yes,
we also have the
yeah.
industrial parks there. We have the Aldi's headquarters,
Yeah.
which I won't deny was very amusing to me, especially because it's our ward. It's just like, wow, the Aldi's headquarters.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
Like you go there, you buy like a can of corn or cream corn or something.
Yeah.
And on the back it says Batavia, Illinois. So when I said I was moving here, I had people. That was the reference point.
Yeah.
Oh, Batavia, Illinois, like on the can of corn that you get at Aldi's. Yeah. Wow.
Famous.
World famous.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. What keeps you up at night?
Oh gosh. I mean, what doesn't these days?
Well,
Like about Batavia, you mean?
Ward 4 in particular.
Ward 4.
Or Batavia. Yeah, about Batavia. Let's say as a council member, what keeps you up at night?
Business retention in River Street, I think, has been one lately.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That one's given me a little bit of heart
River Street,
palpitation.
yeah. For me personally, the issue that I would like addressed is ambulance service, the paramedics. We have
That's the
they're
first
not
I've heard
the
that.
paramedics are not our employees.
Yeah.
We are part of Tri-City Ambulance, which is great. It's an intergovernment agreement.
Yeah.
It is Tri-City Ambulance that has a contract with an outside firm that provides 32 paramedics for the Tri-Cities.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a huge revolving door. Personally, from a labor guy, I've been arguing for this for years. That
Mm.
doesn't make sense. The reception gets a pension. Why shouldn't the paramedics, the ones that come at our greatest hour of need? But I've been watching this for a number of years now, and the cost of that contract, which is basically paid for with fees that are collected from calls. The mayor has talked many times about the huge growth in our calls. We've had over 6,000 calls, I believe it was, 3,000 something. A huge number of calls have been going up every year.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number. To me, said, well, that means the revenue must be up from all these fees. And I looked and did some research, and in 5 years, the contract for the paramedics has doubled to the point where that contract is paying $154,000 for one paramedic. We hire a new firefighter who we require firefighters to be paramedics for $113,000. So
Wow.
the math to me doesn't add up. So I'm
Yeah.
pushing the council. I want to have an open and honest discussion about it, and it's an intergovernment agreement. So it's Geneva and St. Charles are part of this too. That we should be exploring if this is in fact it's something that's been in place since 1982. The Paramedic Service of Illinois has had that contract since that time.
Yeah.
It's just time that we take a deep look at it. And so that's something that keeps me up and I'm thinking a lot about often, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
I would say, jumping off that, I'm very much a math guy, kind of. Not as much as maybe some of my coworkers, but I would definitely like to see how a lot of our decision making, how the math actually shakes out, especially with new developments. You did mention, like with Ashton Ridge, the houses being close together. The weird part is for me, while there is obviously like maybe just a built environment side of that, there's also like a financial side of it, because that means that the amount of infrastructure, like road infrastructure and pipes and all that stuff per household is lower by being somewhat tighter together.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about it from like okay, this actually kind of pays for itself more than maybe
Right.
another development might, which can help bolster our own tax base in a healthy way, that we don't have to raise taxes as much, hopefully, but instead can like use our existing infrastructure in such a way as to, service more people who bring more vitality to town, who bring more tax money into town individually, so that we're sharing the burden a little easier for folks. So that's the other thing that keeps me up, is just sitting there. I have so many spreadsheets of like historical
thinking
data.
about numbers.
Just thinking about numbers, like looking at historical financial metrics for the
Yeah,
town, and
yeah.
like just trying to see, are we on a good trajectory or not? And it's like we have a pretty balanced budget every year. We have got a very good, like, what do you call it, a surplus every year. We have a war chest almost.
Yeah,
So that reserves, that if something like if the world ended, I think we'd be okay for a few months.
Okay.
Right?
Good to know.
It's good to know. It does. That alone does give me a lot of peace of mind. But I do think about the long term of like, are we building a lot now that we'll then have to repay for, resurface, redevelop again 2 years down the line?
Yeah.
That never quite actually paid for itself. That's what I think about a lot. It sounds like kind of miserly, kind of like nitty gritty of like, oh, you're pinching pennies here, because we all want to provide wonderful services for our town, but a lot of it is balancing that with the type of growth we've had, with the type of development we've had, to make sure it's sustainable, such that we can be a vibrant town here into the future, long after I've become a Skellington. You know, like
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, and I
Yeah.
think there are folks on council who do like to have that long-term vision,
Yeah.
which has
And
been
I-
very enlightening, very enheartening for me.
And I would say that in my experience being on council for almost 10 years now, this council has been fiscally responsible. This council and the previous councils, you know, it's
top of mind.
It is top of mind. And back in after 2008, city staff was decimated.
I have the graph to show it.
And yeah, it was exactly. You know, we made it back better than a lot of towns did. You know, in large part to the community. You know, valuing the services that the city can provide, and committed to get that back. And we still have one of the lowest city tax rates around.
I think Batavia's best days are still ahead of it.
Thanks for listening to Area Code Batavia. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode. If you enjoy this podcast, why not subscribe to our newsletter? Just click the link in the show notes and put in your email address. Most importantly, if you know someone who would love to hear this podcast, please share it with them. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community and help more people feel like they belong in Batavia, Illinois. Area Code Batavia is produced by Area Code Audio. It's hosted and produced by me, Richard Clark, with additional production help from Jennifer Clark.